Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing a review for the finale episode of Legend of Korra, which is an hour finale. And yes, you might be asking, why am I reviewing this a week early? Well, I did explain this in my last Legend of Korra review, which also came out today. I talked about how Nickelodeon had this campaign thing going on for Tumblr, and they got 10,000 reblogs, so because of that, we were able to see the finale a week early. So I obviously took that opportunity and watched the midnight premiere of it, and I'm going to tell my thoughts. So this is the finale episode of Season 2, and I will do a little wrap-up of Season 2 also to tell you as a whole if I enjoyed it. So in this episode, we get to see the epic battle between Unalaq and Korra, and there are times where you think Korra is just not going to win. There's a lot of times, we had that first epic battle with just between the two human forms. Then we have the epic battle of Unalaq and his dark spirit form, and Korra and her light spirit form. Korra loses at that, and then Korra becomes this big giant Amazon woman, spiritual Amazon woman, and Jinora helps, and she ends up defeating Unalaq in the end. But with this journey, with this whole entire episode, she's become a better person and learns a little bit about herself, or else she wouldn't be able to become Amazon woman. And then also discovering a little bit about herself with Mako's relationship with her, which I'll get to. Which was pretty interesting, and she loses the connection between her past avatars. Does this mean that she's the last in the Avatar line? I don't know. They didn't really make that clear, because towards the end when her light spirit went out, she's like, oh, now I'm the last I'm the last Avatar, and that's actually a pretty interesting name, Legend of Korra, the last Avatar. But yeah, so we don't really know if she is the last Avatar or not because she lost those connections, or she's starting a new connection, a new age with the spiritual and regular world now intertwining. She did not close the gates. She decided maybe Wan made the wrong decision, which most of the time Korra makes the wrong decision. So when I heard that, I'm like, do you think Wan really made the wrong decision? But after this episode, maybe I do trust Korra to do the right thing. And also we have a journey with Tenzin in this episode, and him leaving his father's shadow. I've honestly loved this episode because, I'm a big character development fan. I love character stories, maybe even more than story arc stories. And I felt with this was a purely driven character story, especially for Tenzin and Korra, who are, I would say, our main characters of the show, more than Mako and Bolin. It's really about Tenzin and Korra. And Tenzin finds the strength in himself to say, you know what, I don't want to live in my father's shadow. And Aang says, you shouldn't live in my shadow, be Tenzin. And then he learns, that's why I had to teach Korra. That's to be the best mentor I can be by teaching Korra, be yourself. Yeah, you're in the shadow just like I was with Aang, but you have to be yourself. And I thought that was a great message, well, for a kid's show and in general for Tenzin, because first of all, even his looks like Aang. Everything he does was because of Aang, and a lot of the season was about that. And it's really interesting to see how that story comes to a close with the kids of Aang. If you're a big Last Airbender fan, we got a lot of references with that. We got, the first Fire Lord, we had Iroh, which I was very happy to see Iroh again, even though it was just a little appearance. It's kind of cool to see the kids of Aang face to face with Iroh. But going back to it, I like just really the ending of that chapter saying, Tenzin, be your own person. You are, of course, an airbender, one of the last airbenders, but be your own person. And I thought that was a great journey for Tenzin. I thought that fog moment was a great opportunity to really do a journey. I thought this whole episode was a great opportunity to really look inside these characters, which is something that was definitely needed. I thought character development in general was really needed in Season 2 with Korra and Tenzin. Now let's get to Korra. We get to see that she looks inside herself to say, again, Tenzin teaches what he learned, is like, you have to be yourself, and yes, you are an avatar, you have all these bonds, and not bonds anymore, but look inside yourself. It's not about bending. Really, that's been Korra's problem for a long time right now, is that it's always been about bending. She obviously is a good bender, but she was never connected to herself, and with this, she finally does connect to herself, and I think with this ending, you can see that she's grown as a person, and she's become an avatar because of it. Like right after she finishes the fight, she makes amends with her cousins, which old Korra would be like, yo, cousins, your father died, bye, he was evil, see ya. But Korra would be very abrupt about it. But she goes to be like that bridge and says, I'm sorry for your loss, what can I do? And she's a very selfish person, Korra, and I think that's really what the beginning of the book was about, is how selfish Korra really was. And towards the end of this book, hasn't become selfish. She can't be selfish because she's the Avatar, and she's learned that. And I think the final sacrifice with that was the most annoying story arc of this season. Mako and Korra. Korra says, I don't think this is gonna work. And, Mako's like, I don't think it will either. And really, it shows how Korra has grown. I think if she was that selfish person, she'd be like, I think we should just, wing it. Let's just do it. Have these fights. Who cares? But I think she was a strong enough character to say, obviously she didn't know about the Asami thing, but she's, in the back of her head, she says, you know what, you go with Asami, and I have another journey. Maybe I'll meet someone else, but obviously I love you, but we're just going to have to stay best of friends, I guess Mako got friend zoned. But honestly, again, it just shows how she's grown as a person. Because we see all these parallels of what happened in the beginning of the season, whereas she broke up with Mako in that way, or in the beginning how she was selfish. And you see how much she changed. And I think with that scene, a very annoying story arc again, but it showed how much Korra has grown in just these 2 episodes. And I think that gets me very excited for season 3, and whatever is going to happen season 3. I think it might be a Varric story just because he did escape, and I still have a gut feeling something's wrong with that guy. He is a good comedic relief, but you got that gut feeling after he escapes the jail, like what's next for him. But overall, did I love Unalaq? No, but I love the theme of Unalaq, I would say. I think the spirit theme of this book, obviously it's called Spirits, worked very well, especially towards the end. I think it just tied a lot of loose ends and something that Korra really needed. Did it have to be hiding that, again, Korra was very selfish, and in the beginning there was a lot of that annoying story? Probably not. I think it was more of like showing, alright, Korra needs to change, making us fans annoyed at it, but I don't think that was needed. It made the story in the middle a little bit uneasy for Korra fans, or at least for me. But I think towards the end it just wrapped up really well, and I love the epic battle. I think that was really worth it, and I think Unalaq was a different type of villain than Amon, and you could just see my last review 3 hours ago, where I'm like, Amon was a better villain. Yeah, character-wise he was, but Unalaq, theme-wise, for just Korra herself, was a good villain. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed this episode as a whole. I think it really tied up some great loose ends. I really hope they go the direction that they went with this episode. Make Korra grow as an avatar. And I saw her, when I saw her face after she was done with that battle, I was like, you're an avatar now. You're actually, I think you got the spunk to be an avatar, and that's how I felt watching the episode. And there's a lot of moments where I was smiling because I was very happy to see that for Korra. Because again, she grew a lot with just these 2 episodes, and that was very needed. And then going back to like Juan and stuff, and going back to the other avatars and making those connections, I thought that was great. Because something that I think flipped this season was the beginnings episode with Juan, and referencing that episode I thought was very good. But hopefully book 3 comes out before a year from now. Of course I'll be reviewing book 3 when it does come out, but I enjoyed it. Please tell me in comments below what you thought about the episode, or you're waiting for Friday maybe, but really, do you think Korra grew through this season, and what did you think as a book as a whole? And if you want me to review the whole book as a whole on Dark Avenger Inc., I could do that. Just tell me in comments below if you want that, and if I get enough comments about that, I will review on Dark Avenger Inc. also, and just talk more about overlaying, and more than just the last episode, but just talk about the book as a whole. But I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Random Situations, and don't forget to like me on Facebook, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.